I'm Paul Solt from Super Easy Apps, and this is going to be a 24-hour code time-lapse video of my new upcoming coffee app. It's called Brew Coffee, and it allows you to make better coffee at home. So this app has been something that I've been using on a daily basis, and it allows you to basically run through a recipe and make some amazing Hario V60 coffee. So this is the new detail screen that I'm going to be doing the 24-hour time lapse on. I've condensed it down. It's not going to be 24 hours to watch. You can watch it in just 14 minutes or so. Okay, so this has a special control. I built a special control. It's got haptics, so it's tapping as I'm moving. As those numbers change, it taps each time the number changes. And then when I let go, let me just show you the animation, it will go to the center. So that is the essence of it. This is my exploration in how to build that. You're going to see me on Stack Overflow. You're going to see me on Apple's documentation. You're going to see a bunch of different things as I'm sort of building this up. Okay, so I did an idea sort of teardown where I went into my notebook, and I'll do a little call out somewhere here so you can sort of see some of that. This is a separate video. This is on my YouTube channel for Brew Coffee app. So I've got a separate YouTube channel where I'm putting all of that content. You can go over there and check that out. On sort of this YouTube channel, I've always done mostly technical things. I do have a couple of YouTube videos on the coffee app, but they're sort of featuring the app. And so in this, I want to dive behind the scenes. I want to peel back that curtain, and I want to take you on a tour of what does it look like to actually make this app. So I'm going to throw up on the screen my coffee design. So once I took the sketches, which you saw earlier, I went into the whole design aspect. So I do everything in Sketch, and I'll just boil it down for you. Like this is just shapes, colors, and text. That's all it is. That's all you're doing with design work. You're trying to solve problems, but at the core essence, if you want to get into app development with design, just draw shapes. So this document, and I'll go more in depth in the other video, but this has all of my art assets. I sort of organize things. You can sort of see that. I can talk more about how this is organized, how I work, but you can see how I sort of add stuff as we go in this video. So let's jump on over to the time lapse. Oh, and before I do that, if you're interested in using this, so if you use Chemex or if you use the Hario V60 and you want to get better coffee at home or at work, I'm in my work office here, you can download my app. The link is down below. It's brewcoffeeapp.com. And at the end, I'll remind you. So don't worry if you just want to sort of see how this works. Okay, so we're going to skip ahead and we're going to go to the time lapse. Now on the time lapse, I'm just going to start this up and we're going to just start speeding through this. So this is going to go 100 times the speed. We're going 24 hours of development. Now this is not continuous development. This I started on March, the code portion I started on March 11th, and I worked on this through around June 7th, and I sent out the final sort of test flight beta with this new feature, I believe on June 9th of 2020. So this took a while. When I work, I like to have the design open. I like to have the code open. And as I'm working on it, you're going to notice that there are times where I'll jump back to the design file and add some new stuff. That's because I needed something to get the results. So I've got some ideas in my head, but it wasn't fully fleshed out in the design. I spent a long weekend on the design back in May, before I started the code. So I spent a long weekend on just design. It was probably, I have another video. Why don't you go watch that? That is, I'll link that right now in the pop-up here or down below. You can go check out that design time lapse, and that sort of goes through that. Okay, so as I'm working, you are seeing all of the Google searches, you're seeing all of the documentation reading, you're seeing playgrounds where I'm playing with things. And some other things that we're going to see, we're going to get into haptics, and we're going to get into, right now, we're doing formatting of amounts. So if we're looking at the app, so if we're looking at this app, I need to be able to display things in liters, potentially grams, fluid ounces, stuff like that. And so I got to localize it. And there's no point in writing all that logic. Apple's already done it. So Apple has this mass formatter, which is kind of their older one, which I discovered in this sort of quest for how do I format things. And now they have this new measurement formatter. So you create measurements and then you can format those way easier, way more power there. The locale that you're seeing here allows you to customize it based on the region and the language. There's sort of two things that work together. Now, in some of my initial tests, you're just seeing that I'm just using like US or DE. But as I sort of progress, I'm like, oh, I'm not fully specifying this for these different regions. Okay, scroll views. I've got another video on scroll views, and scroll views are always a little bit tricky. I forgot that scroll views like to crunch down, and so what we're going to see here, I've got these false colors, is that the scroll view is just squishing down on our content. So I've got 2 views so far that I've added, doing everything programmatically here. So if you're interested in programmatic layout, this is kind of how I work. And I'm just creating constraints, throwing things together. Right now I'm using the trailing closure with the properties just to make it easier. I was looking up some stuff. Sean Allen, I don't remember which video I watched of his, but he had recommended that app for checking out the different colors. I think that was in his GitHub class. So if you haven't already seen Sean Allen's GitHub class, it is fantastic. I bought it, and I'm actually an affiliate for it. So if you use my link down below, I'll get a commission. If you don't use my link, then that's fine. You don't need to use that. You can just find it on his site. Okay, cool. So we're doing these layouts, and finally things are starting to come together. Anytime I'm starting a project, and it looks a little bit odd, but anytime I'm starting a project, it's always false colors. So you're going to see a lot of cyan or green or red, some fake text. So I've got like a hey label on here because I'm just trying to get things working. So this first part, I'm sort of envisioning where I want to go. I'm fast prototyping, but I don't know exactly the code that I need to type. And so that's what I'm trying to figure out here. So I set up 3 different styles of this sort of widget. I have one style where it's like your normal iOS slider. I have another style where it moves around like a control or a dial, where you could actually move the physical thing. That's what you're seeing in the middle row there. And then I had another one where I was sort of experimenting with going up and down and left and right. But then I determined that if I'm going to have a scroll view, that's not going to work. So I had to take that one out. But again, this is just sort of me playing. There was some new syntax in Swift that I hadn't used before with like these if case statements. So this was kind of me sort of trying to figure out how to do that. It was a little bit gnarly because I don't know the syntax. It's kind of like the if let syntax. Like once you learn it, it becomes more natural. I still don't know this. So I was just experimenting and speed coding here. So this is, we're not worrying. So I think one of the things that new developers don't understand is that when we're getting started with code, it's not always clean. It's not always polished. And so you're going to be going down these different paths, and you're going to be exploring things. Like this code file is continuing to get big. And I think it's around 800 or 900 lines of code for this little widget. This little widget that I'm going to reuse has a lot of components in it. And yes, I need to refactor, but in sort of the fast prototyping, we don't know where we're going yet. So I'm not going to write the perfect code because I have no idea where I'm going just yet. I don't know if I like this yet. It's just a big experiment. Okay, as I'm doing this, I'm figuring out how do I need to format things? How do I need to do, what are we doing here? I think I'm getting into the min-max ranges, and I sort of get this down for the main use case, but I didn't fix it for all of the use cases. So you're going to see certain situations where the top slider will not go out of bounds, but the bottom slider, the one that you can move all the way across, those center ones, they can go out of bounds. And I never fixed that because it was kind of like a hack to move it. I'm actually moving the frame, not the auto layout constraint, and that messes up the layout engine once you start doing random things. So it's a good sort of test because it doesn't require much code, but it's not very good long term, and you wouldn't ship with that. Okay, so next up, I'm doing haptic stuff. I've done some additional formatting, cleaning stuff up. So as you go, you start to experiment. Now, I wanted to maybe use a little handle, kind of like the Apple one, but I wanted it more subtle. But when I used it initially, it just felt like extra noise, and so I took it out. And so you'll see that I took it out. I think I will add it in again. Okay, QuickTime window is open. So that's this one right above me. And this is, again, me testing on a real device. So there's nothing better than testing on a real device, especially if you're doing anything with a keyboard. You want to make sure that, like, when you use it, you can actually use the app. If you just always test in the simulator, you're going to miss out on a lot of the things here. Another thing I had to deal with was end ranges. So I want to know when I get to the end range, a bigger tap. So you can use different levels of boom, boom on the haptic engine, and that's super helpful. And we might be, so I'm doing a lot of haptic stuff. So anytime you see this value, so I'm looking at the data on the bottom a little bit. I'm sort of looking at that. I'm refactoring some of the code, moving some things around, testing on a real device. Now this is me sort of prototyping design again. Do I want the handle? Okay, okay, let's pause here. This is the funniest part. So right before this, if we just back up a smidge, this is right around the time where I accidentally called 911. And it was because on my Apple Watch, and I'll do a close-up so that you can see this, but on my Apple Watch, I was playing with the Apple Watch, and then I was playing with the sliders, and I was going back and forth, back and forth. So if you do a long press on your Apple Watch, let me just do that right now, you get this, I can't even twist my arm that much. So I'm just going to do a B-roll here. But I was playing with the slider and I was going back and forth, back and forth. I didn't want to do it on the power off because I didn't want to turn off the watch. And so I started doing it with the medical one, and then I started doing it with SOS. I let go on the SOS when it got all the way to the right side. And all of a sudden it started dialing 911, which is our emergency services in America. And I was like, crap, I need to do something. So I hung up, and then they immediately called me back and was like, sorry, I was playing with my Apple Watch and I didn't realize this would call 911 right away. So that is what happened. That's how I dialed 911. And that was when I was playing around with this design, because this is sort of mimicking Apple's design for that. So that's where this sort of inspiration came from. Okay. So let's jump back into the video now that you've heard that little backstory, and let's just keep going. All right, so again, playing with the style. I take notes in my sketch document. So as I'm going, I'm adding notes so I know how big, how small, the font sizes, all kinds of stuff. Next up was integrating that new idea into the app up here. So this is me on the real device again. Then switching back to the simulator, playing with it. I've got the handle in again. So I'm like, do I want the handle? Do I not want the handle? Let's see what it looks like when we put it on the device. So this is me fixing some of the constraints, getting it all squared away. It's still a little bit off, so I'm gonna fix that. I tried to add a label, and then this is where the scroll view didn't like me a whole lot, and I was doing something wrong, so I had to fix that. So we'll see me sort of triage that and then start tweaking things. Now I make this so that I can have different parameters. So here we can see now I finally start getting the labels to appear, but then I backpedal because I'm like, will this work on my mom's iPhone? And so then I start testing on the smallest device, and that's when I realized this handle design is going to cause a problem. So I decided to take the handle off again. So you'll see me sort of play with that and then get rid of it. Okay, I got tired of all the false colors here. And you're going to see that now it actually doesn't look as bad. Another thing here, I'll put a link down below. I was on a podcast talking about the Brew Coffee app. This has been something that I've been working on for 7 years, and I've been doing pour over coffee for over 9 years. So if you're interested in pour over coffee, you want to make better coffee with your Hario V60, or you want to start doing this, I'm going to be launching a course. And then I will be publishing this app. So this is sort of a step in that direction of publishing and making sure that this app works. So I'll have if you're interested in the course, I've got an upcoming course. It's called Delicious Hario V60. I'll have a little call out up here where you can click on that to jump on over to that. Okay, so the haptics weren't quite squared away. I ran into some bugs as I used it. So the nice thing of developing code over time is that when you run into problems, you can just sort of triage and then start cleaning it up. So here is me refactoring some of the haptic logic. One of the things that I need to do is when you're going from that boundary of 1 to 2, I need to do a haptic. But also I need to do a haptic when we're dealing with fractional values. So if we're going from 1/10 to 2/10 of a gram, I need to be able to give you that boom feedback with your fingers. And so you'll feel that on the newer iPhones. Okay, next up, I ran into some issues with the gestures, and then I was like, ooh, it would be a great idea if I could control scrub speed. So this is a feature, if you long press on any of these widgets, so if I long press, you'll notice that the color will change, and then you can just go left or right, and it's more fine-tuned control. This really helps when there's fractional digits. So if we're talking about the slider down here, I got the right one. This allows me to fine-tune control the we're controlling the water to coffee ratio down here at the bottom. Okay, so again, going back to style, what are the colors I need to use for this feature? And then trying to figure out, can I recolor things? What does that code look like? And so this is me looking on Stack Overflow, trying to figure out if I can do code a certain way. And I think I actually ran into an issue where I couldn't type it like I wanted. And so then I'll backpedal once I figure out that, oh, this isn't how I want to write the code. I wanted compiler assistance on the colors. And so you can see over on the right side, maybe if I do a little call out here, the colors, I thought it'd be cool to maybe write them a certain way. And then it ended up not compiling like I wanted. So I think I refactor, and we might see that in here as I'm working with it. Looks like I'm still doing stuff with haptics. Now I am using the original haptics API, and there is a newer API that came out that I'm not leveraging. I actually learned about that at WWDC this year. And so that is something I would use and do differently if I had the option. So, but that's more if you need to play media. If you need to play a sound file and have haptics play together, that's where the new API is for. This one, if you're just doing a touch event as they're sort of scrolling, this one works. So I don't know if I'm going to refactor that just yet, but it was good to know that there's deeper APIs that I can drill into. Okay. And if we just keep going, how much longer do we have? Okay, we've got the last minute essentially. So this is, again, cleanup. So at this point, I've sort of locked in a style I like. I've got 3 different sort of styles that I'm playing with, and you can just barely see them, but it's mimicking what I had in that sketch document. Once I lock it in, then I'll set everything to the same style. But I've got one with the border, sort of like the Apple Watch power menu, and then I've got one without. And I think I ended up going without the extra border. Okay, then I wanted to mock up with some of the text. So this is me adding the different text labels. I had a little sketch idea of how I want to do it, and then it's just a matter of getting that text on the screen, cleaning up some of the fonts, and so we'll see some of that here. Cleaning up my recipe, that's something I still need to work on. I don't support saving right now, so if you change a recipe, it does not save. It defaults to my recipe. So if you want to customize this, you're going to have to adjust your recipe each time, which is something that's going to be fixed in the next update. Committing stuff on GitHub, always a good thing. I commit a lot as I'm working on this, and then refactoring code as needed. So that is pretty much it. We're in the final few seconds of me cleaning up the UI. Again, always Googling things, always researching things. It's a little, you don't know what you don't know until you're in the middle of it and you're like, I need to do this or this. How do I do that? So that is the 24-hour time lapse. This was a lot of fun to work on. My users love this feature, so it's great. The next step is to make it so it actually saves and can reload, and then future would be recipe tasting notes, okay? So So that's that. If you're interested in Pour Over Coffee, I've got a weekly email list where I share stuff like this video, as well as coffee tips for how to brew better Hario V60s. So if you want to get better coffee at home, check this out. That is brewcoffeeapp.com. And you can get instant access to my beta until I guess I get too many beta testers. I think I'm capped at 10,000 and I'm almost at 2,000. So we'll see. Thanks so much for watching, and click the like button and subscribe if you want to get more behind the scenes technical details. And if you have any questions, just comment down below and I will follow up with you. Thanks so much and have an awesome day.